Welcome to the fourth webinar in our Essential Knowledge for Sailors educational series. Our topic today is navigation aids. This webinar will be presented by Captain Tom Tersey. Tom holds a United States Coast Guard 100-ton Ocean Master's license, is an ASA certified sailing instructor, and part owner of the Maryland School. He teaches our navigation and offshore courses and establishes school sailing programs and policy. He is also author of many of our instructional texts, including 2 adopted by the American Sailing Association, which are Coastal Navigation and Piloting, used for the ASA 105 course level, and Docking Techniques, used for the ASA 118 docking endorsement. Tom has been a lifelong sailor, owning a number of different racing and cruising sailboats, and has completed over 50,000 miles of blue water ocean sailing throughout the world, in addition to extensive coastal cruising. For more information on the Maryland School, we invite you to visit our website at www.mdschool.com. There you can find information on our courses, our instructors, and educational opportunities, including upcoming webinars. To request information or receive notification of future courses and online training, you can do that here as well. We hope that you enjoy this webinar and that it adds significantly to your sailing skills and enjoyment.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'll leave my picture on here for just a minute until we get started in the subject, and just want to let you know who's doing the talking. And the subject is aids to navigation, the U.S. buoyage system, and what I'm going to talk about today will be mostly based on the light list, the U.S. Coast Guard light list, and I'm going to go heavy duty into that. I think that the Coast Guard light list is probably one of the most important documents, navigational documents, that you can carry on board your boat, second only to the charts themselves. And I have found that there's a lot of information in the light list that is not on the chart about navigational aids, and I have found that it has saved my bacon a number of times. So I highly recommend its use. Now let's see, how do let me get rid of this. Okay, so navigation aids, U.S. buoyage system. First off, I'd like to mention navigational text books, and these are the books that we use. These are the ASA navigation textbooks. The textbook on the left is a couple of hundred pages. It has about 200 work problems in it. The book on the right are the solutions to those books, to those problems. And the DVDs in the middle are the selected key navigational problems that are covered in this, both in the text and in the solutions book. And in these we go through step by step in the solution of those problems. So I highly recommend these textbooks if you have a need to study that subject. And the light list is part of that discussion in that light list. In addition to that, the textbook, there are navigational references, which I've shown here, which are important to the craft of navigation. And just starting out on the left here, of course, is the nautical chart itself. Then this book here, chart number 1, is the book which describes all of the symbols and abbreviations that are used on nautical charts. The next one is the light list itself, and this is what we're going to concentrate on today. Next is the list of lights. The light list is for U.S. waters. It's by the U.S. Coast Guard. The list of lights is for non-U.S. waters, that is other countries, and it's by basically the Defense Mapping Agency, and now it's published under what's called the NGA, National Geospatial Agency. Next is the navigation rules, and these are basically collision avoidance rules based on international agreement and the U.S. has adopted its rules based on the international agreement and publishes those in this book. And this really should be on every boat that operates. Next, in radio navigational aids, and this is a worldwide publication. It's also available online, and it gives the source of various radio navigation information that's available to the mariner by VHF or single sideband, and also satellite and Navtex and other methods as well. And it gives the times, the frequencies, the countries, the language that's spoken, the content of the various broadcasts that are made. And then we have the tide and current tables, which show the rise and fall of the water and the current flows that result from the tidal changes. So we're going to concentrate on the light list, and this shows the cover of one of the volumes, and there are several volumes in the light list. As I mentioned already, the Coast Guard light list is for U.S. waters. It describes the navigation system, Nav Aids system in detail, and it also has a detailed listing of all the Coast Guard owned navigational aids. It also includes some of the private aids. And this is available in printed book form, which is the cover I previously showed you. It's also available in the download in a PDF form of the complete book. And it also has a database on the internet which you can go in and query. And I'm going to show you actual examples of doing that. It comes in 7 volumes, and you see the various geographic areas for these volumes. And I want to give you a couple of examples here, and then I'm going to get online and show you how you actually download this information. So if I go into one of these volumes, say Volume 2, Mid-Atlantic Coast, and I go to the index in, I did that wrong. If I go to the index in that book, I can then pick out a particular location and say, for instance, I pick out Annapolis Harbor Channel. It gives me a number here, and that's the number of that navigational aid at the harbor entrance to Annapolis in this volume, Volume 2. The numbers start from 1 again in each volume. And once I have that number, I can then go to the detailed listing, and here's one of the pages out of this light list. And we're going to go over this later in some detail, but I just want to show you the topic headings on this. First off, here's a light list number listed in sequential order, the name and location of that particular nav aid, its position by latitude, longitude position, the light characteristic, for instance, in this case it's flashing yellow light, and we'll go over all these abbreviations a little later, the height of the light, the visible range of the light, and this means 4 nautical miles. I'm sorry, this height was in feet. This is feet above mean high water. And this is the light range in nautical miles in clear visibility. And then a description of the structure itself. And you see various abbreviations used there. So with that in mind, let's go down to the one that I had picked, 19690, which is Annapolis Harbor entrance. And you see first off that this is on chart 12282. That's the NOAA chart that shows this particular area. Here's the number. Here's the light designation, and this 1AH is what would actually be painted on that light structure. Here's its position. Here's its light characteristic, flashing green, 4-second light, 15 feet high, 4 miles, and then this description it shows over here, SG on multiple pile structure. Okay, a lot more information than you'll find on the chart itself. So with that in mind, then let's go to the chart, and here's a chart of that particular light. And you see here's what the chart shows, flashing green, 4 seconds, 15 feet, 4 miles, 1AH. And this red teardrop means that it's a lighted navigational aid. And it shows this particular location. And it's taken off of the chart 12282, which we saw listed in the light list. Now, that's just a general briefing of what's contained and how you work your way through the light list. But what I'd like to do is take you online and show you how to actually download the light list complete, and also how to query the database. So what we'll do is we'll go online to this site, and we'll select publications, we'll select the desired volume, we'll download. You can either download the entire PDF or you can query the database, and I'll show you that. Now you can either go to this, remember this address, or I usually just Google NGA Marine Safety and it'll bring me right to it. So let me go online and see how successful I can be in doing this. Okay, I'm going to Google NGA Marine Safety. Here I have it here, NGA Marine Safety, and it'll bring me to this. Now, when a regular Google listing. So before you select, make sure you get one that says NGA, that's coming directly from NGA. Okay, so let's go to that site. And here's the basic marine safety information site of National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Okay, and here's a list of menus on the left. And you see this one, publications. I'd like to go to publications. And this brings me to a drop-down menu here, which will allow me to select from these various publications. This one here, NGA List of Lights, is the international one that I referred to in non-U.S. waters. But we're going to go to U.S. Coast Guard Light List for U.S. waters. I'm now in the U.S. Coast Guard Light List, and with that I can select the volume that I want. And if I select any one of these volumes and then I hit View, which I'm not going to do right now, it will download the entire 300 or 400 page document, and you can do that at your own leisure. It'll give you the complete document in PDF form. But what I'd like to do is show you how to query the database. So if I go to Volume 2, and over here are a choice of 3 different choices: specific aid number, if you know the number of the aid, or an aid number range, or within a geographic area. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put in here, I previously chose 370, which is a specific aid, which I'd like to show you. And this shows me aid number 370, and if I click that link, that will then bring me to this page. And this is for the Cape Henry Light. See, 370, Cape Henry Light. Here's its position. Here is the light characteristic. A lot more information than is shown on the chart. Here is the height of the light, 164 feet. Here is the range of the lights, plural, and you see there's a white light at 17 miles visibility range, and there's a red light at 15-mile visibility range. And the red light you'll see on the chart in a minute is a sector light. Here's a description of the structure, and here are some remarks, some pertinent remarks, and this tells you the arc over which the red light covers, and basically it's to protect or to alert the mariner to particular shoal areas. So that's how you get a specific aid number that you know of, that you know the number of. Next, let's go to aid number range. And if I select aid number range, you'll see it gives me 2 boxes to fill in. And if I fill in, let's say 350, I'm still in volume 2 to 400. And if I limit this, I can limit, if I don't fill in these limit boxes, it will give me all the aids in that in that range for which they have position information. But if I put limits on it, say 5 miles, that will mean for any light that has a visibility range of 5 miles or more. So I'm going to do a search on that particular set of criteria, and it gives me now a series of aids, 350 to 400, which was what my request was. And if I take that, it now gives me this, and you see 350, 360, 370, and so forth. So I can go down this list now, and for that range that I selected, see all the lights with a visibility range of 5 miles or greater than 5 miles. So you see 6 miles, 7 miles, and so forth. Okay, so that's the second option for querying the database. And the third option I want to show you is if I choose a geographic range. Now when I choose geographic range here, it gives me a latitude set of latitude longitude boxes, and I have to fill in these boxes, lower left corner and upper right corner of the box that I'm interested in. So I'm going to choose here 38 degrees 00 minutes north and 75:00 west. That's my lower left corner. And then I'll choose 39:00 north. We're in the northern hemisphere. And 74:00 west. So that's the box that I'm choosing. I'm also putting a limit of 5 miles or more. So I'm going to choose everything in that box that is greater than 5 miles. And I do a search on that. And that gives me a series of aids. And I go to that link. And that now gives me this list. And I now have a list for that geographic box that I specified, all the lights in that area, for which they have a latitude longitude position. And believe it or not, the Coast Guard will have some aids out there for which they do not have a precise location, and therefore when I do this query, it will not give me those particular aids. It will only give me the ones for which I have a position, for which they have a position. But you see here is a chart number, 12214, shows you the applicable chart, and here's another one, 12214, seacoast lights, series of lights. Okay, so I have the entire series for that latitude longitude box that I specified. Okay, so that is how you query the database, and I've already showed you how you can go into the light list itself, into the index. Now one more thing while I'm online that I want to show you, and that is I want to show you the online chart viewer. And if you simply Google NOAA online chart viewer, you'll get this page. And this shows you different geographic areas. And here's the Atlantic coast I'm going to choose. And now we have a complete listing of all the NOAA charts within that, that they have listed, basically. So I'm going to choose any one just randomly, and if I choose 11505, just as a random choice. Okay, and now that shows me this, and I can now zoom in on this. Shows me that it gives me actually the complete chart. I can zoom in on this chart down to extreme detail. Okay, and there you go, the approaches to Savannah. So let me summarize some things about navigational aids. First off, there are buoys and there are beacons. A buoy are the navigational aids that float in the water, or they're anchored to the bottom. They do have distinctive colors and shapes, and they may have lights, they may not have lights. Beacons are stationary. They're fixed to the earth, either up on dry land or out in the water, but they're fixed to the earth. They include poles and structures. These also have distinctive markings and colors and may have distinctive lights. Now, here are buoys. Here's a red buoy and a green buoy. They're floating, they're anchored to the bottom. Here are beacons. Now, two beacons shown here. One is a little pole with a red triangle on it, and here is a big seacoast lighthouse. This is actually Cape Henry Light. And both of these are called beacons because they're fixed to the earth. That's their terminology. This Cape Henry Light that's shown here it is on the chart, and this is the one that we looked at previously online very briefly. And here's what the chart shows. It says Cape Henry, and you see this red teardrop indicates that it's a lighted beacon, and it gives the light characteristic. It says MO-U, that is Morse code U, 20 seconds, 164 feet, 15-mile visibility in clear visibility. And then it shows a red light sector. Okay, so that's what the chart shows. And then when we go to the light description, which we previously looked at briefly online, but here it is again, and we can talk about it. Here is that light 370, Cape Henry Light. Here's its position. Here are the light characteristics that Laura asked me about. I'll tell you about those. Here's again the height, the range of the lights, white 17, red 15, a description, and a further set of remarks. And the MO-U, the Morse code letter U, is ... So that means that it would be putting out that sequence in the white light. So the MO-U, let me make this a little larger. The white light will be flashing this MO-U sequence ... every 20 seconds. So it'll go ... and then there'll be a period of dark, and then ... and so forth. Then the red sector of that light would have this characteristic, and it's 1 second flash, 2 seconds eclipse, that is dark. 1 second flash, 2 seconds dark. 7 seconds flash, 7 seconds dark. So when you add those up, that's a total of 20 seconds. So that would be that sequence. So you see that that sequence would be flashing continuously, and it would just be on a repetitive basis because that covers a total of 20 seconds as well. And that would be the red sequence. So Laura, I hope that answers the question that you had, but at the end you can pose further questions if you still have a question on that. The other part of this is these remarks. It says red from 154 to 233 degrees. The first point of this is that these degrees are given in true, and they are measured from U to the light. In other words, if you are on your boat out there somewhere in the water and you take a bearing on this light with your compass and convert that compass bearing to true by applying the magnetic variation, then you should be within that red sector. In other words, if you cite 233, you should be right on the borderline between the white and the red sector. If you're between 154 and 233 as it bears from you to the light, you'll be in the red sector. And if you go to 234, you'll be out of the red sector. Okay, so basically it tells you when you are in that particular danger zone. So that is a description of the light as shown in the light list, but I want you to compare that information with what's shown on the chart, which is very, very limited information. Okay, obviously they can't put too much on the chart. So that's how the light list helps you in having detailed information on a particular Nav Aids, this particular seacoast light. light colors, red or green, are for lateral aids. Now, by lateral aids, what is meant is aids that mark the edges of a channel. And then there are white lights, and these white lights have no lateral significance. That is, they don't mark the edges of channels, but they're used to identify a particular location of a light. And on the chart, a light is white unless a color is specified. So let's go back to this chart, and you'll see here that this shows 20 seconds for the light, but it shows no color. That means that that 20-second light is white, okay? On the light list, it does show the colors. It shows white here and it shows red here. Okay, so lights are white if no color specified on the chart, all right? Yellow lights are used for information regulatory marks, and they have no lateral significance. We'll talk in detail about lateral significance here in a minute. Shapes. Shapes of marks correlate with their colors. Red marks, as you see, have tapered or triangular shape, and they're referred to as none shape. Green marks have square or rectangular shape and referred to as can shape. Red and white marks are for fair water marks, and I'll show you specific examples of these. And they have a red spherical ball at the top as a shape identification. And black and white isolated dangerous marks carry two black spherical balls as a shape identification mark. So you have triangle for red, can or square for green, one ball for red and white, two balls for black and white, okay? And all of this is covered in detail in the description in the light list, by the way. Numbering, red marks are numbered even, green are odd. No other marks carry numbers, but some carry letters, okay? Now, light characteristics, this is their blinking pattern, the light blinking pattern. Particular patterns are used in specific locations such as channel boundaries, changes in the direction, preferred channel, special yellow, lighthouses, and I'll show you examples of all of these. But the light characteristics have particular applications for particular types of nav aids. Now here are the light characteristics that are used. This simply describes the type of characteristic. This again is all in the light list. First off, a fix. It's a continuous light, and the abbreviation on the chart would be F for fixed. Occulting, there are three types of occulting used. Now, occulting means a light in which the dark period is shorter than the light period. So you see in this example here, here's light is on, off, on, off. You see the light is long, the off is short, okay? So that means an occulting light. But there are three types of occulting lights. There's single occulting, and the chart shows this, and that's the one we just went through, off, long, short, off, long, off, okay. Then there's group occulting, and this particular one is occulting 2. This is what the chart shows. And you see it shows, let's start here. Count the darks is what you're counting by the 2. You have dark, light, dark, long light. Dark, light, dark, long light. Okay? So the 2 refers not to the light, but to the off. And here is 2 plus 1 occulting. So you have dark, on, dark, long, dark, long. Starts again. Here's the period. From the beginning of the first dark to the beginning of this dark here. So dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. Okay, that's the 2 plus 1. Then they have an isophase in which the light and dark are equal in length. Light, dark, ISO meaning equal. And the chart would show ISO as shown here. Then there is the flashing lights. And this is the opposite of occulting in that the flashing lights, the dark period is long and the light period is short. So you have flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark. That's a single flash. That's what's shown on the chart, FL. Then you have group flashing, 2. Now here that you count the flashes for the 2. Flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark. Okay. Then you have flashing, group flashing, 2 plus 1, and you have flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark. So look at the total period here. Okay, so here's what's used on the chart, and you have to practice these when it's at nighttime and you're looking at these and you're looking at a particular light and you say, which is that? Is it an occulting light or is it a flashing light? You have to be able to interpret to make sense of these at nighttime. Let's go to the next page. There are quick flashes, and it goes flash, 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 flash. And you see this says flashes are at 60 flashes per minute, so 1 per second. That's a quick light. Then there's continuous quick, and then there's interrupted quick. Flash, 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 off. Flash, 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 off. Then there's Morse codes, and here's Morse code A, dot, dash, dot, dash. Okay, and we saw MOU on one of them. Fixed and flashing, you have a continuous fixed light, and then you have flashes superimposed on it. And then alternating red and white, red, white, red, white, red, white. This is often used in airport beacons. And you say, why am I interested in that in a boat? And it's often that we're sailing and we can see an airport beacon that's helpful to us. Okay, so this particular page comes out of the light list, and when you download, you'll get this page complete. And you'll see this says except Western rivers. USA's navigation system except Western rivers. And this is a complete summary for that. And this shows the lateral aids, the green on the left, the red on the right. Here they're flashing sequences. We'll go over these in detail. And these are what are called preferred channel marks. We'll go over all of these in detail. Here are the safe water marks, the red and white safe water marks, the black and red isolated dangers marks. Here are range boards, which are used to identify visual ranges. Here are dayboards. I'll show you examples of all of these in detail. Ice special marks, yellow special marks, Intracoastal waterway, and then information and regulatory marks. So we'll go over all of these one by one in some degree of detail. This also comes from the light list, and it's a makeup chart. It's not a real chart, but it's to illustrate how lights may be shown in the daytime. So if you're sailing through this particular area, you're coming down this channel, you see these various aids, and we're going to go through this in detail also. This is what you would see in that same area at nighttime. You would see just these light flashes, okay, without seeing the aids themselves. And then here is a chart of that same area. So these three diagrams are all correlated with one another. Here's what you see in the daytime, here's what you see nighttime, and here's what you see on the chart itself. And we're going to take this and pick it apart piece by piece. Now, let's talk first of lateral aids. We mentioned them previously. They mark the channel edges, and the channel edges may be marked with either floating or fixed beacons. Right-hand lateral marks are colored red with even numbers and conical shapes, and we'll define right hand in a minute. Left-hand aids are colored green with odd numbers and cylindrical or square shapes. Now let's look at the lateral aids. These came from the previous diagram that I showed you. And here are the red and the greens. And the reds are used on the right hand coming in from the sea. I'll define that for you in a few minutes a little further. But you may have, for these red marks, you may have dayboards, which are unlighted. And here's what the chart shows. It shows a red triangle, and it says R, quotation marks 2. And that simply means the 2 in quotation marks is what's painted on the mark itself. Here's an unlighted buoy. It's a nun-shaped buoy, tapered. The chart shows this diamond shape of a red color, and the chart will show R for red, N for nun, quotation 6 for number 6 painted on it. Okay. Here is a red lighted beacon. The chart shows a dot and a red teardrop, the number 2 in quotes, and flashing red 6 seconds. So it tells you that the light is a flashing red 6-second light. And you remember we defined what flashing is in those previous light characteristics. Here is a floating buoy, number 8, red, and it's got a light on it. This is what you would actually see in the real world. And here is what the chart shows: a red diamond, a red circle around the dot, and then written on here is, or on the chart, is red 8 in quotation for what's painted on the buoy, flashing red 4 seconds. And let's compare those with the green. Now they're all very similar, except you notice that for the beacon, the lighted beacon, it uses a red teardrop, the same as this teardrop on the red light. Okay, so for beacons on the chart, the designation of a lighted beacon is always a red teardrop, whether it's red or green. Okay, let's look at the chart here for the green buoy. You notice it has a red circle, as this one has a red circle. That only means light. It does not mean red light. But the color of the diamond signifies the color of the buoy and therefore the color of the light. Okay, so this can be a little bit confusing at first, but beacons, lighted beacons, are always using red teardrops, whether red or green. Okay, so the diagrams here clarify that for you, even if you can't remember it. Let's compare the unlighted down here, and you see red triangle. Here you see green square. That's straightforward. Here you see red diamond. Here you see green diamond. That's straightforward. Okay? Let's look at the rest of these. The light characteristics that we defined previously show the light characteristics that are used for lateral aids. You see flashing 2, okay, a group flashing 2, flash, flash, dark, flash, flash, dark, flash, flash, dark, or flashing, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, dark, or occulting, on, dark, on, dark, on, okay? Quick flashing, ISO, they're equal dark and light. The same in the green, the same characteristics are used, but just simply in a green color. Okay, so let's take that and go on a little further with lateral aids. Lateral aids, red lateral aids are on the right side of the channel when proceeding up channel and in from the sea. Just think of it when you're going from big water to little water, you're going up channel, the red lateral aids are on your right. Remember, red right returning to port, or proceeding clockwise around the continental U.S. There are some red marks that are out in the ocean, maybe a mile offshore, and you would encounter these going clockwise around the U.S. and the Gulf and the West Coast. You would keep them on your right if you're trying to stay offshore. Green lateral aids are for the left side of a channel when proceeding up channel. Okay, so there's the two rules to remember for when proceeding up channel, red right returning basically. And here's some lateral aids. We saw some of these before. Here's a green lighted buoy, a red lighted buoy. Here's a green dayboard. Here's a red dayboard. Okay. Lateral aids when proceeding down channel and out to sea. Green marks are now on your right. Remember, green right going. Red marks are on your left. So when going down channel, green right going, and coming up channel, red right returning. Okay. So that's lateral aids. Let's now go to channel junction marks, and these are basically for forks in the channel. You're coming up a channel and you come to a fork, and do I want to take the left or the right fork, basically. These are colored red and green. As soon as you see on the chart or in the real world a red and green mark, that is a junction mark, and it directs the way to the preferred channel, and it's based on the top color. So the first thing you determine is if it's red and green, means it's a channel junction buoy. If I want the preferred channel, I follow the top color. And they will use lights that correlate to the top color as well. So let's look at some examples of these. Here are channel junction marks. And here we have a red over green. Now look at the chart. The chart shows this diagram red over green. This diagram shows green over red. So that the chart colors correlate with the buoy itself. Okay? And notice the words on the chart. RG means red over green. GR means green over red. Okay? Now, what you do when you come to that channel junction is you follow the top color if you want the preferred channel. Before I get into that example, let's go to the rest of this. So here we have an unlighted channel junction mark. Notice what the chart shows. It shows a white triangle, and it shows RG. So you have to read the RG. And in quote G, G simply means letter G. It does not mean green. Okay, it means simply letter G is painted on the mark. Here again you have a floating buoy. This symbol signifies a floating buoy, but it's unlighted because it does not have this red circle here, and it shows red over green, RG. It's a none, and there's a C painted on the buoy. The lighted buoy is similar to this, except it has a red circle, and it shows RGB, flashing 2+1, red 6 seconds. That's the characteristic of that particular light characteristic. And looking at the green, the differences between the red and the green here, the only difference is, well, no, that's actually the same on the chart. They're the same except for red over green and green over red. Okay? The distinction here is a white square for unlighted, and it will be written green over red and a U painted on there. Now, these channel junction marks use only composite group flashing 2+1, flash, flash, dark, flash, dark, flash, flash, dark, flash, dark. Okay, same in green. Let's look at some examples of this. Now here's what you might see on the chart. First off, I'm coming up a channel, and according to this chart, the channel bends left. And if you want to follow that primary channel, here's a channel junction mark here, red over green, RG, flashing 2+1, 6 seconds. And here are the channel lateral aids, marking the edge of the channel. This tells you to go left. If we want the primary channel, the preferred channel, we follow the red marks. That is, we leave the red to starboard coming in. And let's look at, in the real world, here you would see, again, these two lateral aids that are these two. And here's the channel junction mark. Now there is a channel going over here to the right, but that's a secondary channel. So if I want to follow the primary channel as here, I'm going to follow the top color. I'm going to leave the red to my right. As I did, I left this red to my right as well. Okay? And here's what you might see at nighttime. I see flash, 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 flash. I see occulting. I see flash, flash, dark, flash, dark. Group flashing 2+1. Okay? So that's a channel junction mark. Safe water mark. A safe water mark are placed in wide areas of navigable water, and they can be passed on either side. Here's examples of the safe water marks. They're red and white, vertically striped. They have a red ball on top for shape identification. You notice in all of these, the chart designations are non-colored. They're all white. And in the lighted, again, it uses a red circle here, but the letters on the chart show red and white, and for what's painted on the buoy, MOA, means that the light sequence is what color? It's going to be a white light only, and it will show a MOA dot dash or dot, short, dark, long, dark, short, long, dark. Okay, and you may have a dayboard like this on a beacon pole. It'll be a white square, red and white, painted A on the buoy. Here's a floating spherical, and it says SP for spherical, B painted on it. Or an unlighted safe water mark. All right, and let's go to some examples here. Again, coming up this channel, here's your red and green marking the channel, and here is a red and white MOA marking mid-channel, shows safe water on both sides. Here's what you'll see in the actual buoys in the daytime, and here's what you may see at night. Now all of this is in the light list. All right, isolated dangers mark. They mark specific hazards to navigation, but not all hazards. Isolated dangers use two black balls on top for shape identification. You see the chart shows black over red, and you see the two balls in the chart designation. BR for black and red, C in quote for what's painted on it, A in quotes for what's painted on it. Flashing 6 seconds. That means it's flash, flash, dark, flash, flash, dark. White light only. Okay. And here again is an example of what the chart might show. Black over red, isolated danger. Here's what you might see in the daytime, and here's what you might see at nighttime. All right, range marks. Now, range marks refer to two beacons placed in alignment to assist you in remaining in the channel. And these are shown on the nautical charts and in light lists, and they use dayboards to assist in identification. Now let's look at that. Here are the range marks, the dayboard range marks. And you see rectangular boards with 3 colors, or 3 colored stripes of 2 colors total on the board. So the colors are specified in the light list, but not on the chart necessarily. First letter K indicates that it's a range dayboard. And I'll show you an example in a minute what range means. Second letter indicates the side colors. Third letter indicates the center color. So KGW, let me make that a little bigger for you. So KGW, K means range mark. G means the outer colors. W means the middle color. You would think that they would have reversed those letters, but they didn't. So G is the outer color, W is the center color. Let's come over here. KRB, range board for K, red on the outside, B on the inside. Okay. Let's take a look at this example. So here is, again, coming up this channel. Here are your channel marks. Here's your MOA. Here's a channel junction mark that we looked at previously, but here are range marks. Now these are 2 poles that have dayboards and lights on them. And the dayboards are obviously for daytime identification and the lights for nighttime identification. So here's what the chart shows. Let's make that bigger for you. So this chart shows ISO. It means equal, red, 6 seconds. 6-second period, equal periods of light and dark. And then this one shows a quick red. Now these teardrop reds indicate to you that it's a beacon. It's not a buoy. Okay, so it's fixed to the earth. And here's what you would actually see in the daytime. All right. So, and here's what you would see at nighttime. Quick red, here's quick red. ISO red, 6 seconds. Now these are supposed to be equal light and dark. They didn't show them equal in this picture, but they should be equal light and dark. And the function of these are that as you're coming up the channel, you maintain these 2 beacons in line with one another. If you get off to the side and out of the channel and you look at these, you see they will be not lined up, okay, if you're over here. But as long as you keep them lined up, then that means that you're safely in that channel, because you can't always judge by the lateral aids. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. If you're off to this left side, you'll see them separating that way. So that's how a range light is used. And the chart would show this says KRG. So let's look at an example. Here's the Stamford Range up on Long Island Sound. And here is a set of range lights right here. Right here. I'm going to blow that up for you in a second. Now let's look at this set of ranges. Here's a red teardrop. Again, it's showing it that it's a beacon. The chart shows you these 2 lined up on that channel, and it shows quick red 27 feet. Or quick, not red, quick 27 feet. It means it's a white light and it's 27 feet high and it's a quick flash. The rear light shows an ISO, meaning equal light and dark, red, 6-second period, 38 feet. Now you notice that the rear light is higher than the front light, and that's always the case. Now looking at the chart, you might actually have a hard time deciding that that's a range light. But if I go to the light list, I can see that particular range. Here's the The Stamford range that I'm referring to, front range light and rear range light, okay? And it shows exactly where the rear range light is located based on the front range light, 200 yards, 358 degrees from the front light. Here's a position of each. Quick white, ISO red 6, height 22 feet, 38 feet. Now here, KRW on skeleton tower. We know that KRW means range dayboard, red outer, white inner. Okay. And this light is visible all around for both. So this is the description in the light list, and this is how it looks on the chart. Okay, so you have to put the chart and the light list together to make complete sense out of that range. Now there are other dayboards that are used to identify specific location or non-lateral beacons. Now let's look at these boards. Other dayboards, there are red, green, and black. NR means non-lateral, in this case. R means red, okay? And you see here a white square on the chart, red and white, BN for beacon. GW, BN for beacon, BW. They're diamond shaped, they're white plus those colors, and they're lighted or unlighted. And here is current rock in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it shows this particular light. Now we know from the teardrop that it's a beacon, flashing, a lighted beacon, flashing 6 seconds. That means it's white because there's no color specified. It's 20 feet high, and it has a 6-mile visibility range of the light. And here it is on this rock pile, okay? And let's look at the light list for that. And light list shows current rock, it shows a location, flashing white 6 seconds, height 20 feet, range 6 miles, NR on skeleton tower. NR means the dayboard. It means it's a red diamond-shaped board with red and white colors. And it has some other remarks there. And this is a well-lighted light, and everyone doesn't necessarily see the light at the time. It's a well-marked rock pile. Reedy, I know you've sailed past this. I've sailed past it many times. You can see the red and white dayboard. You can see the white light at the top, and you can see this fellow who missed it. And then there are unlighted dayboards. And here again on the chart, you might see a red and white beacon. And this is what we saw before, unlighted dayboards. Red and white, red and white. And at nighttime, of course, you're going to see nothing unless you flash your spotlight on it. All right, there's another item called raycons, and raycon stands for, it's a word derived from radar beacon, and it's a device mounted on Nav Aids or a bridge for positive identification by radar. And the beacon, the radar beacon, responds to a ship's radar with a Morse code signal that's displayed on the ship's radar screen. This is for positive identification. It's a phenomenal tool to use. And a Morse code letter shown in the light list, but not always on the chart. And the ranges of these beacons, these raycon beacons, are from 6 to 8 miles when they're on a buoy and 17 miles on a 50-foot structure, like a bridge. And here we are in a light list. Here is entering Chesapeake Bay at the bottom, and it shows red and white CH, and CH is painted on this buoy. This red circle, the big red circle around it, indicates that it has a raycon. It's a MOA sequence. It has a whistle also, and here's a raycon sequence, dash dot, dash dot. Okay. If I go to the light list, I see this, and I see Chesapeake Bay entrance, lighted whistle buoy CH. Let's make that bigger for you. Lighted whistle buoy CH, here's the location. It's a MOA is the white light. It's white, shown in the light list, but not on the chart, right? Height is not given because it's a floating buoy. The range of the light is 7 miles. Red and white stripes with red spherical top mark, as a MOA should be. And the raycon shows the letter C, dash dot, dash dot. Okay, so you have complete identification there. And that's a raycon. And here's what a raycon might look like on your radar screen. Your radar screen will actually show this Morse code signal when it gets a signal back from the raycon. So this is a screen on your boat, the radar screen on your boat, and here's the mark right here, and it will show dash dot dash dot. It'll actually paint right on your radar screen for positive identification of that particular mark. Okay, there are special marks, and this description is taken right out of the light list, and basically it's used for something for which they want to get your attention. These are not lateral aids, but they say, hey, be careful here. And you see that on the chart, they're shown with an uncolored diamond for floating marks, uncolored square for this dayboard, okay? But a red circle again because it's lighted, but the printed letters on the chart show yellow, Y for yellow, B for painted on, and FL for flashing, okay? Here's a yellow none. I'm sorry, a yellow can and a yellow none. N for none, C for can. And the quotation, what's in quotations is always what's painted on the Nav Aid. Let's look at this example. Here's some special marks in Chesapeake Bay, and this is around the gunnery range down south of Solomon's Island on Chesapeake Bay that the Navy uses for target practice. And they've got 2 yellow buoys floating outside that area. And you see here yellow D, flashing yellow 2.5 second bell, yellow C, flashing 4 seconds, flashing yellow 4 seconds bell. And here's what the light list shows for those: U.S. aerial gunner area, bell buoy C, bell buoy D, position, flashing yellow 4 seconds, flashing yellow 2.5 seconds, so you can distinguish the two of them one from another, okay? And if you're coming up Chesapeake Bay, it's telling you be careful of this area. And you notice that within this zone, it says foul with obstructions. There's a lot of just unmarked tangle of structures and stuff that they've blown up in the past. Replaced by none when endangered by ice, okay? So that's an example of yellow marks just simply to get your attention. Intracoastal waterway marks. These are within the intracoastal waterway that go between the barrier islands on the east coast of the U.S. and also along the Gulf Coast. And there are areas where the intracoastal waterway crosses waterways that are coming in from the sea. And so they needed a method for distinguishing one from the other, and they use these yellow bright reflective colors on the buoys, on the aids, to distinguish. And you see yellow triangles indicates aids that should be passed by keeping them on starboard when you're in the intercoastal waterway. Squares act like rectangles, and this horizontal yellow band just simply means it's an intercoastal waterway mark. Now let me show you examples of this. Here is again this chart that we looked at before. And here's an intercoastal waterway, this red line that's going horizontally here. And here's a coming in from the sea. We're coming in this way, in from the sea. We have the reds on our right. So we have these two channels crossing one another. And these channel marks coming in from the sea are marked conventionally with red and green lateral aids. And there's also some beacons on these corners here. And here's what you would see on the chart. Now let me blow that up for you a little bit. And on the chart, here again, you see these lateral aids. Here's the red and green lateral aids coming in from the sea, coming up this primary channel coming in from the sea. Here's the intercoastal waterway coming down this way. Now notice that what they have done is they're saying for the people that are coming up the intercoastal waterway, you're going to cross this channel that's coming in from the sea, and you have to make sure you interpret these marks correctly. So right here we have a red mark which is for this channel coming in, but notice that it has a green square on it. That means that for the intercoastal waterway people coming this way, you treat this as a left-hand mark, as a green mark, even though it's red. And notice this green mark has a green square on it. So the intercoastal waterway people treated both of these are green marks if you're following the ICW. And notice over here, the red has a yellow triangle on it, but the green also has a yellow triangle on it. So these are both treated as right-hand marks for the intercoastal waterway people. Okay? So that's simply how they deal with this crossing of channels. And this shows you those examples blown up. All right. Now, let me show you some examples of chart entries just for a little bit of practice on what these designations may be. Here's coming into a port, a well-marked port. And first off, we have this particular lateral aid right here. And as we look at this, we can see that it's a green mark by the green color. We can see that it's lighted by the red circle. And we see G quotation 1 is painted on it, and the light is flashing green 2.5 seconds. So this first line, this first part of the information, G1, is the buoy, and flashing green 2.5 seconds is the light. And here's how it might be written on the chart. That's that. And it's described here, lighted green buoy number 1 with a green light flashing once every 2.5 seconds. Okay. Now here's an example of this one. Red 2 flashing 2.5 seconds bell. Red 2 means it's a red floating aid. Flashing red 2.5 seconds bell. Okay. Let's go to the next example. Here is a flashing 4 seconds, 35 feet, 6 miles. That is not meters, that's miles. Now there's no color specified here, so it's white. So therefore it's not a lateral aid. That is, it's not marking the edge of the channel. Okay? And it shows that it's 35 feet tall, flashing 4 seconds, white. Let's go to the next one. Here is flashing red 4 seconds, 26 feet, 4 miles, 2A. Now this is a red teardrop, so therefore it's a lighted beacon. It's a red, flashing red 4 seconds. It is a lateral aid. It's considered as a lateral aid marking the edge of this channel, even though it's off the channel a little bit. All right. All right, information and regulatory marks. These are just special marks that show you particular information. And basically, these three squares here are in a graduated level of seriousness. And you see basically this one with a circle in the middle. Type of control is indicated in the circle, such as slow, no wake, anchoring, etc. Okay. This next one is a little more restrictive. The nature of the danger may be indicated inside the diamond shape, such as a rock, a wreck, a shoal, a dam, and so forth. All right. So this is more cautionary than this. And this one with the diamond with the X in it, explanation may be placed outside the crow's diamond, such as a dam, rapids, swim area, and so forth. This is a boat exclusion area. This is a danger controlled area. Okay. And then these may be put on white marks, white buoys as shown here, or even on dayboards. Okay, now let's look at bridge marks and bridge lights basically. And here is a swing bridge, both closed and open. So a swing bridge, you see this whole top structure rotates and would open up both of these channels. And you notice that the center abutment is marked in 3 reds. The adjacent abutments are marked in 2 reds. The bridge itself has these 3 separate reds. And when it turns, you'll see green lights showing in this direction. All right, and then here is a vertical lift bridge. There's one like this on the C&D Canal between Chesapeake and Delaware Bays. And these, that particular one is always up unless it's down. So they put it down when the train comes. These are train bridges. You see when it's down, you see two red lights on the abutments and a red light in the middle. When it goes up, you see a green light. All right. Of course, the chart is going to tell you the height and so forth of that. And then we have a fixed bridge, and here are the abutments, single reds, a single green, and there's 3 white lights that are showing you the main channel going through. And a bascule bridge, that is a lift bridge. And you can see that 2 reds on the abutments, 2 reds here at the center. When it opens up, those red lights turn green and you're open. Okay, then there are western rivers. And everything we've talked about up to this point is in coastal waters, tidal waters. And western rivers have a set of special requirements, and they're summarized here. You see, numbered aids are not, nav aids are not numbered in tidal, are not numbered as in tidal waters. Numbers on nav aids indicate mileage from a designated point. And they will use red and white lights or green and white lights and diamond-shaped dayboards to indicate where the channel crosses from one river bank to the other. Red and white or green and white is a crossing channel on the river. Green nav aids use a single flashing green or white light. And reds use a single flashing red or white light. Isolated dangers are not used. So within the light list that you can download, there is this diagram for western rivers, Mississippi and other rivers. I won't spend any more time on that at this point. Now let's put it all together, and basically there's cruise pre-planning. So before you go out on a cruise in an area, you want to lay out your desired course on charts. You look at the chart, I want to go from point A to point B, and let me lay out some straight lines from here to there, to there, to there, that avoids all the dangers, that goes down the areas that you would like to traverse. And basically, that's your run line courses. You note the danger areas, what to avoid, and you list waypoints and nav aids. Mark these on the chart with latitude and longitude and tracking number, and program them into your GPS. So do this prep ahead of time. And also record the course and distance for each leg. Identify nav aids that are going to be encountered along the way. Verify against the light list, because the chart is generally more out of date than the light list. And if you downloaded your light list just prior to departure, you're going to have the latest information. Underway, you want to record course steered by your ship's compass and distance traveled at regular intervals, such as 30 minutes. If you're in really constricted areas, you might do it in 15-minute intervals. If you're offshore, you might do it in 1-hour intervals. And you want to plot a dead reckoning course based on this information. Dead reckoning simply means the course that I steered and the distance traveled, and I plot those on the chart, and here's where I think I'm at based on course steered and distance traveled. Then the next step is you take bearings or LOPs on regularly identifiable objects such as buoys, lighthouses, stationary structures, and plot those on your chart. And based on crossing LOPs, lines of position, you can then get fixes, and you can then update or improve your DR plot, and maybe even restart your DR plot at a good fix. You want to verify identifiable A's and check them off in your logbook as you identify them. You also want to be able to integrate radar and GPS reading with your manual paper plots, as you were doing up here. So use these things together to confirm one another. I often, when I sail, I have one crew member verify progress based on GPS and another do it based on paper and pencil plotting techniques as outlined here.
Tom, could you mention one more? You had talked about the classroom courses, but just mention briefly about the home study and how we, and the materials for that.
Okay, yeah, we have, when we do our coastal navigation classroom, we have the ASA textbooks, which basically, all right, I'm the author of the ASA textbooks, so I'm kind of selling my own books here, but we use the coastal navigation text that I had written, the solutions book that I showed you in the beginning. Let me go back to that. And this text, this solutions book, and these DVDs as a package. So when we do our classroom work and our home study, we provide all of these, and basically plus some charts to work with, or a chart to work with. And you can go through the text on home study, and at the end of each chapter work on the problems. If you get hung up on the problems, you can go to the solutions book here, and then, as I say, there are key problems that we take from the solutions book and go through step by step on screen solving them. Rita, did you want to talk about the administrative part of the home study?
No, I guess the only other mention that I'll make is that these DVDs, those two DVDs, are not the ones that ASA includes a very basic DVD. These two DVDs are DVDs that Tom developed after the ASA adopted our program. These are instructional DVDs, And so they really help make our home study work. Now ASA has since adopted them, but they don't sell them as part of the standard navigation. So they are available separately as well from our school and from ASA. And then the administrative part is once you are ready to test, we can do that at a local library near you, or you could come to Rock Hall. So that's pretty simple to do. And then occasionally people will go through all this and they'll still have a question and they email me, and then Tom will respond by email if you're still stuck after all of this. So okay, so that's all.
And then on that score, then if you're really stuck and you can't come to the class, can't do the class, we can also do online tutoring at a fee. So, okay, thank you all for coming, and I have to sign off now, but I appreciate your attending and nice talking with you. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, everybody.